explanation. Technically, these fan productions are known as split fan productions. Let me show you why. Because you do not throw the entire fan down. You only throw a portion of it down. You split the rest of the cards away and re-back palm them. Let me explain what I mean. You remember the explanation I gave you for the singles? That is to say, the single production of cards, one after the other. In this case, instead of producing the cards singly, you're going to produce them all at one time. Let's say you had, I don't know, half a dozen cards in your hand. And instead of taking one at a time, you're going to swivel that entire packet of cards to the front, and you're going to do a one-hand fan. Look. Hear that? That's how it's done here. Instead of producing the cards singly, you're going to produce the entire block, or the packet as it were, swivel it to the front, and execute the one-hand fan move. Yeah, again. From behind. Now, in order to produce another fan, or as we say in the profession, continuous fans of cards, we have to split the bottom portion of the cards and re-back palm them. That's why it's called a split fan. Look, I'll produce a fan of cards. Now, in the act of apparently throwing them down, I'm going to take most of those cards away. The cards, most of the cards on the bottom half, and I'm going to say only 3 or 4 left, and those are what are going to be thrown down. You see? Let me do it with a hat. All right, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 12 cards. I'll back palm them, produce them in a fan, and I'm going to split most of them and re-back palm them in 3. They're all about 3 cards, or 2 or 3, whatever. Now, when you're more proficient, you can add more cards. Now you'll notice the way in which I'm doing it. I'm not just splitting the cards off and dropping them. I'm moving my hand up and down in a certain rhythm, and there's a reason for this. Most performers who do it have a tendency to expose the nature of what's going on. In other words, they'll produce a fan, and without any misdirection, they'll split those cards off, and the audience will see that there aren't not as many cards anymore in the hand, that only 3 are going down, or perhaps 2 or whatever. The way you avoid that is through this action. If you were really going to throw a fan of cards down, you would do that. Now you'll notice what happens when you're doing it for real. Assuming that you're not holding the cards very tightly, which is what you wouldn't do in any case. If you move your hand up, centrifugal force brings the cards together, so there appear to be less cards in any case. Look, I'll do that from behind. And see, if you were really throwing the cards away, some of the cards would come together. If you did it with some more force, a lot of the cards would come together. It's centrifugal force, you see. And also your hands are moving together, so the cards come together. So look, a little centrifugal force, and you would be throwing a packet that would be closer together, you see. Right, now the way I exploit that fact magically is to split the fan at the point where the cards would naturally come together if I were really going to throw them, you see. And remember, that would be the real way it would happen. But look, what I do is, as I come up, I don't split the fan right away. I wait until the hand is in the down position. Right now, well, let me be even more clear. I don't keep the hands, after the fan's produced, I don't keep the hand stationary and then split the fan. What I do is, after the fan is produced, I come up as if I'm going to throw the fan, and it's at that point that I begin to split. All right. Now, let me be a little more clear about how you do the split. The pinky comes under the bottom of the fan. It starts to close. This finger begins to break. and it positions itself between the stock popper and a few top cards. You see? Let me do that again. All right, as I come up, I gain a break here, and simultaneously I push the pinky up from the bottom, and it's only at the point where the cards are apparently coming together from centrifugal force, that's when I do the split off in the act of coming down. Watch. Okay, I produce, and the upswing is when I get the break. Then, and only then, do I split away at the moment that I come down. Watch. So it's, all right, if I had to produce, remember, it's not this. I don't, after I produce, I don't split with the hand stationary in space. I do the splitting movement on the upswing. All right, now since the cards appear to be coming together naturally, that's when I split the pack. All right. So you split it, and then you actually back palm them on the downswing. All right, from the front. I'll do it slow. See the action? When you do it in one motion, it looks like this.
All right, Jeff's gonna teach me split fan productions.
All right.
This one looks hard, so.
Okay. How much do you know so far?
I know how it works, of course, now, but I think it's just a matter of that break, that first break, because the pinky's gonna come under, and how many cards should I be breaking off?
Well, first of all, what you want to do is, after you have your fan, you're doing two things simultaneously. The pinky comes up, and then your instinct should tell you how many cards to split off. I wouldn't split off more than 3 or 4 if I were doing it, but you can split off more when you're first learning it.
Okay.
So you're here, and you begin to split off by you bring the finger up, and then you stop at a certain point and push forward.
Okay.
Push the packet forward. All right. All right. And then put the forefinger further in between the separation, and then begin to come down. All right. And then the other finger straighten out, back palming the cards.
These ones
right.
Go in.
Right.
As you go back.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Here. All right. So and let me point something else out.
Mess.
Let me make another point. Traditionally, you're supposed to do it this way. You're supposed to keep the pinky at the bottom of the fan at all times, right? So you can do that, but I don't do that because I find that limits the amount of spread you're going to get. So what I do is I actually bring the pinky up. Now you can only do this after you've learned it correctly and done it for a while. See, normally they do that and keep the pinky there on you, but I find that it limits the amount of spread you're going to get. So my pinky actually goes up.
Okay.
So I can really, all right, then I re-engage it, I bring it back down as I'm going to split, you see. Okay. That's what I do.
I think that's...
You don't have to do it that way, but I prefer it.
Okay. So, fan here.
Yeah, you don't want, yeah, okay.
So regrip as I come down.
Good, now that's the right action, that's correct. Because if you don't do that, the amount of cards seems to diminish.
Yeah. How much time do you have in between dropping and then producing the next fan?
Well, the pacing and the articulation are really up to you, but I think, well, it should be fast enough so that way they don't really see what's going on. On the other hand, if you do it too fast, it becomes a blur.
Yeah.
So what you want to do, you want to wait 2 to 3 seconds between each production so they can really appreciate what's going on, you know. You don't want to do it too rapid fire, you know, it's like 1, 2, 3. You know,
okay. Just give it
1, 2, 3.
And then you kind of have like a little pause.
1, 2, 3, a little pause. Yeah. And when you have only a few cards left, then you can squeeze your fingers closer together. Then of course you can pause more.
Yeah.
You know, and then instead of doing nothing but fans, if you wish, when you come down, you can integrate and do a few singles at the end. You say you can do that.
Sure.
You can make a nice combination.
Oh, cool.
That's it.
That's cool.
Now, for the technique of front splitting. In order to produce fans of cards continuously from inside the hand, that is to say with the back of the hand or the front as it were facing the audience, you have to be able to combine two classic front hand productions. The first one consists in having the stack of cards with the faces facing the palm and producing the cards in that fashion. It's essentially another one-hand fan, except you're going from the classic palm right into that position. You see it. All right. The other classical way of producing a fan of cards is by having the face of the pack away from your palm towards yourself and produce that way. That's it. All right. The audience is here. The faces of the cards are there, and you do that. So basically, you take them out of the palm, thusly, and then do a classic one-hand fan. All right, now you're doing the same. It's also a one-hand fan. The only difference being that the cards are facing away from the palm and towards yourself, and you're opening out the packet towards the audience. Yeah, here's the audience. Okay. Now, front splitting consists in the ability to combine both those things, one after the other, so you can produce continuous fans from the hand. All right. Now, this was developed independently by several people. Bobby Baxter, one of my early mentors. There was a man named Walter Cummings, and it's been discovered that even before them, the great English sleight of hand artist Edward Victor developed a technique also. Here's my particular handling. You produce the fan that way. Now, you want to do a split. It's actually a split fan, but instead of back palming the card, you're going to split it and push those cards back into the palm, except with your hand in that position and the back of the hand facing the audience. Watch. You produce, split, push in, and then drop that fan. Now, when you're at that point, now you can utilize the other production technique. That, you see? I'll do it again. So you're producing, splitting, pushing the cards inward rather than behind the hand, dropping, and then you can go that way. You can do that a number of times, you get a continuous production. Now, the one problem with this technique is that, as you'll see when I do it for you, if you're using one hand only to make the production, you don't have enough mixed direction for it to be really a mystery, because you can do that, but this is so complex, and the nature of the angle is so complex that you will not fool an audience with it. You see, you really won't fool an audience with it, particularly. So the only way you can get away with it in a decent way, in a mystifying fashion, is to be doing something with both your hands at the same time. Now, as you saw me do before, either I'm producing cards in one hand and front splitting with one hand with the left hand, or I'm doing a crisscross thing, which breaks the eye. You see. So let's see how it would look. Just for instance, I'll just use a few cards so you can be clear about it. Yeah, I'll do it from here. So I'll produce a fan of cards in this hand. I'll produce the fan in that hand. I'll split, but as soon as I do that, the audience's eyes go here. You see, I can do that. So I can come down if I want, and I can cross my hands and produce you see. Now, if you wish to execute the front split while facing the audience, you'll have to do what I call the kind of crisscross, cross-handed production. You're going to do this. You're going to cross the hands, and all right, and perform that production simultaneously. Okay. All right. So you got to do this with both hands crisscrossed. You're going to do that, and then as you swing back, you're going to make that maneuver. So it'll be like this. I'll do it slow so you can kind of catch it. I produce it, all right? And then as I swing out, here's what's happening. What I'm really going to be doing is that. But I do that actually with the face of the fans facing the audience. So it's here. But as I come there, you see it covers that swing. See it? Because if I just did this, you would see it. So what I'm doing is I produce here, and I actually face you. Then I actually start to put them in the palm of my hands when the faces are towards you, so you don't really realize what's going on. It's only as I crisscross my hands that I do the drop, and now I come up that way. See?
Okay, now this is the front split. It looks super hard, but you got to break it down here for me.
Okay. Well, you know, Jay, it's always amused me how the explanations of techniques change.
Yeah.
Because in some treatises, or among some people refer to this as the back of the hand. Some people refer to it as the front of the hand. Yeah. It's really odd, and I think it has to do with the details of the usage. In other words, if your hand's in this position, it's the back of the hand. If your hand's in that position, it tends to be the front. Yeah. So, but for all intents and purposes, this is called front splitting.
Okay.
Even though it's being performed from the palm, it's what we really mean is that it's the front of the hand in this case, which is facing the audience.
Okay.
So
I've got both hands.
Right. So you've got a packet of cards with the faces towards your palm. Okay. Yeah. And you're going to execute a classic method of producing cards, which is that. What you're basically doing is the classic
one-handed thumb fan.
One-handed thumb fan, except you've got a palm first. Okay. So then you're going to lever that up.
Just leave it.
So and just fan that.
Okay.
I know. And I try it one more time. In this case, after you've done that, you pause. Now what you're doing, you're actually kind of doing a split fan towards yourself. All right. But once you have that, instead of back palming it, your middle finger goes over the top of the bottom packet and pushes it into the palm. Right.
No way.
And drops those cards.
That's crazy. Okay.
So it's a kind of reverse back palm, actually. You do that, you split, but instead of splitting, put that middle finger and push those cards in.
To a classic palm?
Right. Now as you do that, you've got to turn your hand simultaneously and drop the cards over. Right.
Oh, weird.
You see.
Okay.
You see.
And then from here, you're going to go into a classic.
The front production. Now once you that's going to bring the cards there, so you're going to produce those cards that way. Now you've got to contrive to do the same thing.
Okay.
So a good way of doing that is to turn the hand down and do it.
Oh, okay.
So it depends how you're starting. You could start this way, or you could start that way.
So you're doing a split here, using the middle finger to kick it down.
Here, you're doing the same technique, except the action's slightly different. What you could do, you can yeah.
And then from once you're into palm with that big stock, you're just throwing down again.
Right. So in other words, you would do this. Let's say that's the audience, yeah. So it's this, that, and here's the audience again. Now what I would do is, for this I would tend to do that, and then do that again, you see?
Wow. That's crazy. So, but when you have the other hand doing something, it kind of takes away from that action, right?
Right. Now I've got a Sheridan version. I've got an improvement on my own. And it works like this. Perhaps you better watch me. I'll show it to the audience.
Okay.
All right. Let me explain my technique with one hand first. I produce the cards this way, right? And what I'm really doing in the act of tossing, I'm actually back palming the cards with the faces going towards the back of my hand. So I'm producing the cards using that technique, swinging around, back palming them, and then just coming up. And with two hands, it looks very pretty. This allows me to combine the classic front splitting technique with my improvement at the end. So I'm here. Let's say I wind up in that position, starting that way. Remember? Okay. So I'm here. Here's the audience. I can produce that, right? I swing. Now I'm in that situation. I'm here. Only this time, when I use my technique, I can swing with my palms out and then come up. So I've got a third.
Your front split technique, the improved one, and I think it's cool because you can show the palm empty for a split second before you do it.
Right.
So how do the cards start out?
Okay. You're starting out with the cards in that position, with the faces out. Right? So you produce cards that way. Okay. And now what you're really doing is doing a split fan, but you're doing it in a very interesting way. The fact that the faces are towards the back of your hand gives you a different illusion. Now remember, the split fan would be this way, right?
That's right, with the faces out.
But now the faces are going the opposite direction. So let's say that was the audience.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to come back. Right? I'm going to split the cards, the face of the cards towards the back of my hand, and drop them down, and then now normally you would produce the cards that way, but in my case, you're swinging up.
Okay.
And producing them. In a certain sense, it's kind of
like the finger.
You got it. It's a further development of my finger production. Remember that?
Yep. But it's with a fan.
That's with a fan, right? It's with a fan, and it's also with the action as well, because you split. You're here, you split, and then you come out. And with two hands, of course, it's really nice. So you got to come. So here's the combination. Here's your combination. Is this? You're here. So you've got one, right? Then, as I told you, you split back into the palms. Remember, which brings you in that position. So you come up, and now this time, you really amaze them by having the palms sit up, and then you come up and do my version. So so the whole thing is my sequence.
That's cool.
You want to try it all with one hand?
No.
No. Okay. Okay.
I'll do that.
Next time.
Okay. So from here.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. First production. Boom. Come this way. Split. Throw them down.
No. You got to get that in.
Oh yeah, this is yours.
No. You start that. No. You start the cards inside.
Okay.
Facing the palm. Now do that production.
Okay. Here first.
And now you swing out and push them. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
This is the wrong one.
No.
What are we doing? I thought we were doing Sheridan one.
Yeah. Well, I'm showing how to. Yeah. Well, you did that already. Now I'm going to show you the combo.
Okay.
We should produce that.
The combo.
Okay. And now you swing and split fan them and push them into the palm. Right.
With the middle finger.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Here.
Swing. Now produce them towards the audience, right? And now you can do mine where you're splitting and back and then toss and then come up, right?
Yeah. See,
that's the basic idea. Okay.
All right. So you're just basically combining the two and you get this nice show of all sides of the hands.
All right. And then you got three actually going.
That's cool.
Three.
I'm going to have to work on that.
Okay. Now for an explanation. There is a big advantage to doing a card act while wearing white cotton gloves because it allows you, in a way, a greater capacity to conceal with the back palm techniques that you're going to use. In my case, I take full advantage of that by utilizing cards with blank backs. Right? As you can see, white cards against the white gloves, especially if you keep them moving, give you a great optical advantage. You see that? You can't really see them. Look, I can do that. And remember, you need cotton gloves, not nylon gloves. Nylon are going to slip. You use cotton gloves, and the best friction you're going to get is by the use of saliva. You lick the first two fingers and the thumb. All right. Now, because of this, you want to avoid using normal cards. That is to say, either cards with a red back or a blue back, because the ink is going to come off eventually and ruin the gloves. And believe me, if you wash the gloves once or twice, they're going to shrink, which will result in you needing to get new gloves all the time. So you want to keep the gloves as clean as possible. All right. Anyway, the technique does not change. It's going to feel a little strange at first. The technique for the split fanning or any other type of card handling is not going to change. It's just going to feel a little strange for a while. Okay. But once you get used to it, it's really no more difficult than with manipulations without gloves. Now, as for the removal of the gloves, there's the classical way and there's the Sheridan way. Now, the classical way was this: after you produced a few fans, let's say you were down to 10 or 12 cards in the back palm position, you would remove the left hand glove thusly, hold it here, and then remove the glove at that point, and then do the reverse palm, and then clip it, and then do the rest of the removal. Now, this was okay, but it was a bit slipshod. I solved I solved any possibility of exposure by doing it this way. Look, I've got the stock, I removed the glove, but I place it back in the right hand, right, like that, and I pull this off and I lock that glove under the other glove, so I can turn my hand and you don't catch the flash at all. Now you take the glove away, right? I'll do it. Okay. You pull that glove off with the cards in the back palm. I pulled the thumb. I pulled the thumb off a little bit, and I lock it on pulled it down, locking the glove somewhat. Now I do the back and front palm, and even if you do it sloppy, it's not going to be seen because this is going to block. Now, when your hand is sort of vertically parallel to the floor, you pull it off, and you pull this down, making sure that it clears that. Now you clip the bottom edge of the packet in the thumb palm, straighten the fingers out, and now you can do that. Keep the gloves here, and now do the thing and drop the gloves, and that's it.
All right, Jeff, I left my gloves at home, so I'm not going to be able to perform this one.
Right.
But I just think it's such a cool application how you have that lock, that glove locked in, and it just adds all the cover. But I want to see it up close.
Yeah, well, all right, let me say. Well, as I said, one of the advantages to using gloves is the fact that the material, in a way, helps give a bit of cover to the cards when they back palm. However, if you utilize, well, I'm wearing white gloves, so if I utilize cards with blank backs, you can see that there's even a greater advantage. You see that? Because it's white on white. Yeah. You can't. If I was going to wear, say, black gloves, then I would use cards with a black back, right. You know? So you've got, look, so if I do this, you don't see it. Now, the technique, as I said, is the same for fan productions. However, I've improved the technique for the glove removal. All right, so I produce my fans. All right, now instead of removing the glove like that and keeping it there, all right, I place the glove back on the right hand, so it stays in that position. You see it? So what I want to do now, I'm just going to pull a little bit off the thumb, and I'm going to partially lock that glove.
Okay, so there. Okay, so you're kind of trapping the left hand's glove.
I'm trapping the left hand glove there, right? Exactly right. Okay. All right. So what I do now, I just do the back and front palm technique with the
same exact technique.
Same exact technique.
Okay.
And that glove stays there until when I got the cards fully covered by putting my hand in this position, then I take that glove away.
Okay.
All right. Now you pull the glove, make sure the bottom of the glove clears the stock.
Nice.
Now I clip it.
It's like a little thumb clip.
Yeah, and I do that, and now I continue. All right, and now I do this along with motion. As I move this way, as I have this movement going this way, as this movement's, I don't do it and then do it. As the gloves move away from the hand, that's when I do that. So it's all, not place them back again.
Yeah.
So I drop the gloves and I immediately do that.
How long did it take you to get used to the feel? I've tried this before.
It takes a while. It takes a while. Yeah, it takes a while. It takes a while. Yeah, I suggest you heavily powder your cards. It may be helpful.
So when you do a tuxedo act with the gloves and the tails and everything, this is really appropriate. And
it's appropriate. Yeah, right. Well, as I said, I'm not a believer in using gloves throughout the whole act. Okay. Caldini did. I mean, throughout his whole card routine. I only use them partially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Explanation. This is my version of a card fan from silk. I based it upon the Jordan Ellis wine glass production, where the glass is clipped under the stem and then raised under the scarf. But here's my approach, which is really a quite different effect. After you split off, after you've done your split fans and perhaps you've got a little stock left, here's what's really going on. Here's the audience. You've got a packet left behind the hand. You take a scarf. While the hand is still in a kind of horizontal position, you drape it under the scarf like that. And here's what's going on. The silk is over here. You pat it. You bring the center of the silk up. And as you do that, you do the reverse back palm with the packet and just fan them and drop the silk and whip it away. It's quite an elegant production. Oh, here's the audience. We'll do it. You're here, last packet, you drape it over the hand. Yeah. You pat it, show it's flat, drape it up, do the maneuver, drop it, and whoops, we'll do that again. When you're producing your fans, you've got your final stock. You drape the scarf over, then come to a horizontal position. You pat, make that maneuver, and drop, and there's the fan. Scarf in left hand. All right, you produce your last fan, then split. Now you don't produce a fan at this point. Rather cover the hand that has the last packet behind it. And keep it up, like that. You pat it, bring the center up, make your maneuver, and they see a form that has appeared, and it's very elegant.
Jeff, those silk magic looks so cool, and it gives that illusion that there's nothing in the back of your hand because the silk's coming through the fingers.
Yeah.
So let's go over that handling.
Okay. Well, now the technique that I was taught by my friend Robin Lane is actually much simpler than the classic technique. Actually, let me go over the classic technique, which I did not perform. Okay. Let me have this. This is a thinner silk.
Okay.
What they used to do, which I don't like that much, you'd have to have the cards clipped. And then you'd have to slip that between the middle fingers and then pull it through and come around, which is a really, really complex, and you run the risk of all the flashing. Now, and the technique my friend Robin showed me, he's got the cards classic palmed here, all right, and he's in that position. And what he does is bring one finger up. You can see you've got much more hidden space, so you can stroke it, and then you're just here and you're coming down. You come either just above where the other two ends are, or just below. Or you can come there, bring your hand down, and then back palm the cards on the cover of the silk.
You go to the front and back.
Yeah. So you're here. Look, it's zip. Then you can swing the body and come around. Now you have two options. You can produce the fan and drop it, or you can just do another split, and then pull the scarf through, and then finish with one more
Okay.
fan. And then
So
try it.
the silk's actually behind.
Yeah, the silk actually provides a certain amount of cover.
I don't know if I'm able to display it. But okay. So this is draped over.
Now you can have this. You can have it in your pocket. You can have it, formed into a rose, like some people do. You can have it in a pocket. But in any case, with those cards palm, if it unravels, no one's going to see. If you hold your hands towards yourself, you can give it one or two twirls.
Okay. But that just keeps it thin. So when
It just keeps it thin. Yes, you come down here.
You get a lot of cover for.
Yeah. Now you want to come. You want to come with this as deep as possible. That's why you twirl it. You want to come as deep as you can, so it doesn't interfere here.
Okay, so it gets real deep.
And you can stop maybe right before the center.
And then I'm actually.
Now you want to swing your hand in an arc up, and now you do the back palm.
Oh, from back here.
From back here, you got a lot of cover for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and you swing it there.
Easy with the silk and that.
Yeah, that's why you want to have that deep, and you want to get your thumb on top of that situation.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I see why you twirl it again.
And it's really right.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah, try it.
Okay. So I'm deep here.
Right, and now swing it an arc. Now make sure your back of the hands to the audience, swing up, and then when you're right, now you can do your back palm.
Okay. So the silk's actually riding in between the.
Right, exactly. Between the first and second fingers. You want that to drape down so it gives cover as well as free the thumb.
That's exposed view.
Yeah. Now you can produce a fan.
Okay.
And produce a fan.
Just stay.
No, you want to make sure that stays behind.
Okay.
You can either finish there or split it and then do one more.
Okay. Now my finger's getting cut in the silk, but
Well,
like you were saying,
that's
it has to
because
be deep.
it wasn't deep enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from here, you can do split.
Right. And now, I would pull. Now I still put my thumb back here and pull it through, and produce one more.
Oh
God.
It seems complicated.
It's not.
It's not as complicated as it looks. But
I suggest if you can't find a silk that's thin enough, you make what they call a split silk. You just go to a seamstress or a tailor and have the slit cut vertically.
Yeah.
And sew it down so it's actually half silk, but when it's draped, it looks like a full silk.
Okay.
So you won't have that problem of it snagging.
So it's probably a better idea too to get the initial split fan productions
Well,
first.
these are all embellishments.
Yeah.
First you get your basic technique down with the split fans, and then you can always add these variations, which add shadings.
Sure. Yeah. And that's a very, very, very important point. So
Because one thing you want to avoid with this, you want to avoid monotony. It's fascinating, but after a minute or two, there's a repetition, so you want to break that repetition by adding some other things.
that's great. And you do a really cool production with the.
Oh, yeah. This is something I came up with. What's interesting is that you can be in magic for many years and be familiar with certain principles, and oddly enough, sometimes it's many years later when you get another idea about how to use such principles. Now, the basis of my cards from silk is rooted in the Jordan Ellis wine glass production. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yep.
You've got a rubber cover, and the wine glass is hanging upside down under the scarf. Well, what I did was I realized I can replace that with a packet of cards, because basically if you have a pack of cards in a back palm position, and if you're this way, you could kind of say it's hanging upside down. So if you do your reverse palm move, which is your back and front, if you do your reverse palm move, you can do that literally.
Yeah.
So what I did was, I'm using a silk that's sewn double. It's a double silk, really.
Yeah.
Right? So after
you can't see through it.
you can't see. Well, if you can get a thick silk, it doesn't matter. But if you can't, you just sew two silks together so they cannot see through it. You do your fan productions, and then when you come down to a few more cards, you just stay in that position, and you just drape the silk while your hand's still in that position. You just drape it over.
And you're holding it in a way that it's you're clipping it with a thumb. Right?
You're clipping it so you've got a little
So you got all that room to.
You got that room, so you just kind of drape it over, and then of course you can come into the horizontal. So basically, it's this. You're here. Now I do the padding business, and I lift the silk. Yeah. Now I don't do anything with the cards until I lift the silk. I lift the silk up high, then I bring the cards up, and fan them, and just drop it, and it seems to materialize at that point, and it's really quite a nice display,
Okay. So from here,
right.
this
No. Remember, the audience is going to see that. Remember, let's say that's the audience. Your hand is here.
Okay, yeah.
No. Okay, you stand. No. Okay, no. Okay. Now, is that the amount of cards? If not, you can produce a fan and split them. That's you. Okay, you split the cards up. All right, now you've got a stock left.
Yeah.
Now, instead of producing it that way,
okay, you're going to stay in this position.
Stay in that position and drape. Drape the silk over it. about the center. Don't move the hand.
Okay, this stays here.
Move the scarf over the hand.
Okay, so this stays here.
Now you can pivot your hand towards the audience.
Okay.
With the palm facing the ceiling.
Okay. Otherwise, they're gonna see.
Right.
They're gonna see what's going on.
Exactly.
So you start here.
Yeah. It's good that they can see through this one. Yeah. And now you just keep your hand out.
Okay.
Now pat your hand as though it's empty. Now, without doing anything with this hand yet, grab the center of the silk and lift it about 2 or 3 inches high. Okay. Now do the move.
Am I clear? Okay.
Now do them and fan them, and now drop it. Drop it. And now it seems to materialize at that point.
When you
now grab the scarf and pull it away slowly, and, and there's your miracle.
Okay.
You've got it, of course, with the fan.
Okay. So when you're in this position.
Oh, I see what you did. No, you made a mistake.
Okay, what I was supposed to do is come under.
And push them. That's it.
Push them straight.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That way, when they appear, they're facing.
Right. Right. You got it.
Cool.
Voila.
Okay, Jeff, I think what people really want to know is where do the cards really come from? I mean, you got to steal them from somewhere on your person, right?
Well, perhaps we ought to explain to the audience the true meaning of loading and stealing.
Cool. Loads and steals.
Mm-hmm. Well, the load is essentially an object that's hidden on the body somewhere, in a location that the audience is not aware of. And the steal is the technique of obtaining that load secretly.
Okay.
Normally into the hand, so that you can produce it sometime in the future.
Okay.
That's what loading and stealing is.
As opposed to like shells and peas and shells, like loading and stealing.
Right. Well, we're discussing essentially loading and stealing from the body.
Okay.
You can load and steal from behind objects, say behind a table, but essentially most loading and stealing is done off the body. It's the cleanest way. There are essentially 3 versions of stealing.
Okay.
There's what is known as the direct steal, which means that one of the hands obtains the load. In other words, we say steals the load from its place of concealment, merely through some covering action that the other hand is going to perform.
Okay.
In other words, let's say I have a load of cards on a clip concealed here under my
your
jacket. Okay. Now, a direct steal means that I'm going to obtain that without any excuse, without any covering excuse. The only way I'm going to get away with that is if I perform some other action. Either I produce something else in this hand, which gives me the wrist direction, or I have to perform some other action.
Yeah.
I could even maybe brush my hair. And the other form is called a pickup steal. A pickup steal gives you a covering action. I prefer it to the direct steal because you don't have to have such strong misdirection. Let's say that in my inner breast pocket, let's say I've got a packet of cards or a ball or a coin or something, and I want to get it, but I also got a handkerchief in there. So I go in, palm the object, and take out the handkerchief visibly. So as far as the audience is concerned, I've just removed the handkerchief. That was the reason. Cool. Yeah. What I like about a pickup steal is that you've got justification, and you don't need such strong misdirection. Right. Direct steals are the most difficult. Now, there's a third possibility, and that's called a substitution load, meaning that let's say I have, for instance, a packet of cards hidden under my belt, okay? Say 20 cards, and I have another 20 cards here that's visible. I make those cards disappear, right? Now I look around and I reach in, supposedly to reproduce the cards, but what I'm really doing is reproducing the cards that were hidden there.
Okay, as if they jumped to the
your
jacket.
Right. So in the meantime, I've got those 20 cards plus I have the original 20
that you palmed off earlier. Huh?
So I'm one ahead of the audience.
Nice.
Then you can even double it or triple up. But basically,
and these are called indirect steals?
No, those are called substitution loads.
Substitution loads.
So out of the 3 categories, the direct steal, the pickup steal, or the substitution, I like the last 2. I mean, the only time I'll make a direct steal is if I have absolutely no other possibility of covering. Yeah. So in your routining, if you can design a routine, well, all you need to do is to have recourse to a substitution or a pickup. It's preferable.
So you work these
because the misdirection is more natural because in a way you don't trigger the audience.
Yeah.
A lot of problems with direct stealing is that a lot of guys design the routine in such a way that they really don't have good covering misdirection.
Yeah.
Because to make a direct steal, you need very strong misdirection. Yeah. A lot of times you see the elbow bend, or it's very
reach out
and you see this elbow coming up. And if you're going to make a steal, if you're going to make a steal, say here, you want to keep the wrist
keep that. Yeah.
Keep the wrist. You don't want the thing to bend out any more than it has to,
Because
you're triggering.
When you turn around, they get that elbow in the back.
Right. Right. Like or even here. Cardini was very good at direct steel. He could go forward and produce a cigarette and come right under. But if you're wearing tails, you have a little more leeway.
Yeah.
But normally, normally the clothing is not really designed to do that really cleanly. So I prefer the last. You can also do pickup steels and substitution loads from props. Say like, for instance, the hat.
Yeah.
Let's say I have a billy ball in the hat people don't know about, and I take a billy ball and make it disappear, and I can just reach in and supposedly produce the billy ball. But meanwhile, I've got another one here.
Yeah.
You see, so and that type of thing,
Yeah.
I prefer something like that. If you can devise it. If for some reason you can't devise it, then you better have pretty strong misdirection to make your direct steel.
I think that just makes the whole routine more well-rounded if you have those pickup steels and.
Well, also if you think about it, it really gives you a greater scope for developing the character.
Yeah.
Because one of the possible pitfalls of manipulation is that it can become repetitive, no matter how fascinating it is. Yeah. You need variations. It's just like a song or a play. You need a certain amount of variation. At some point you may produce a fan of cards. You do 3 or 4, and then something else should happen to break it up. To make if you go into 20 fans, it can get a little bit repetitious. So you want to at one point maybe you'll notice something. You'll notice what's this handkerchief? Oh wait. Doing here. Oh, here's some more cards. So you can give you. I mean, that's just a simple example, but it gives you variations.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
And as far as a pack of cards is concerned, for the most part, I eliminated all direct steels because with a pack of cards, unlike a billy ball or a coin, you basically a pack of cards is really a stack. It's like a very thin stack of chips, so which allows you to steal off the pack itself.
Okay.
So you don't have to, So any direct stealing, I managed to substitute through the stealing off the deck of cards itself. Like I'll show you.
Yeah, we're gonna go over there right now.
Just give you a few. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of ways you can steal off a pack. Let's say you've got the pack here. All you need to do is do something like this to palm off as many cards as you need. Let's say you're here and you're straightening out the cards or whatever. Or let's say you've just made a fan and you're squaring them up. You just riffle off.
Yeah.
And that eliminates the necessity for making a fan and stealing the cards there.
Yeah. Now, is there any particular technique when you're stealing off? Is it like a bottom steal?
No, the only one I've ever used. I mean, there are a lot of ways you can do it, but I find the best way is just basically just to riffle off and just classic palm it.
Okay, just riffle off from there.
Yeah, just riffle off, and I find a very good misdirection is to fan the pack. And if you can do a one-hand fan, it's good. But if not, you want to fan the pack, and in the act of closing it, you don't look at your hands. It seems like you're squaring the pack up, and so you're a bunch ahead.
Yeah.
You don't have to make a big deal out of it.
Do you ever worry about that bottom card, like if they see it's a king, and then
you know something? For the most part, nobody notices.
Really?
Because when you do this, they think you're shuffling the cards.
Yeah, that's right.
People have a tendency, I've thought about that. Now, that's an interesting point. There is one point in my routine, which you'll see later, where I'll vanish a packet of cards and supposedly reproduce it, but it's actually a substitution load. And I'm going to make sure, I never did it before. No one's ever questioned it, but I make sure that the face card is the same face card as the one that I'm vanishing.
Okay, because they are going to notice that.
Yeah. But normally you can't control that, because normally you're going to be manipulating the cards. You're going to be splitting them off, so you're going to have no control about what card you're splitting on. But you know something? In all the years I've done this stuff, actually no one's ever noticed.
Yeah.
I just added that thing about the duplication merely because I become a stickler. Yeah. Maybe for on TV and the camera's close, but you know what? Yeah. Nobody ever notices.
Okay.
Because as soon as you fan a card and you do this, they think you're shuffling.
Yeah.
As soon as you do something like that and you square it up, they think you're shuffling the cards. Nobody notices. Yeah. Nobody notices.
And this is would it be a substitution load, or what would you call that?
No, you're just stealing off the pack.
Okay.
It's just to steal off the pack.
Steal off the pack. So when you have these packets of cards on your person, how do you clip them to your body? What do you use? Or
well, they used to put I don't even have any to show, because it's been at least 30 years since I've even tried using it. Because for years, when I worked outdoors, I didn't wear a jacket. I had eliminated all the formal clothing, so actually I had no use for stealing of any kind. So I literally just worked off the pack.
I noticed that. I noticed in your routines you don't really do a lot of loading and stealing. You've kind of streamlined it to where everything comes off of one deck of cards.
You'll see one routine. I'll just show you. I'll give you an example where I have one substitution load. Just one substitution load. And if you're able to master many of the slides I've discussed in the DVD, you won't have any necessity for it, because if you can do, for instance, if you can do the front splitting, which I discussed,
Yep.
if you can front split, you've eliminated a lot of need for any of these things.
Oh yeah.
So between the front splitting and maybe one pickup load or one substitution load, you don't need any direct steels. You know.
That's a good point.
But if you're going to use it, I wouldn't. If you want to do a direct steel, they used to recommend like going to get either a bulldog clip. You know what a bulldog clip is. I don't like that, because you've got to put pressure, and then you've got to.
It's true.
You know, when you are stealing, you want to make the amount of time that you're doing it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Because if you're stealing a load. A pickup thing, it doesn't matter, because they think you're fumbling to get the object.
Yeah.
But if you're making a direct steal, it's got to be instantaneous and almost motionless. If there's any hesitation,
Yeah.
even if they don't see what's going on, they know something's going on.
Yeah, you need to be able to just.
Because if you're here, if you've got a pack of cards you want to steal here, and you're producing that, and you're here any more than a few moments, they know something's going on. Because you need to do that. A direct steal also has to be done instantaneously.
Yep.
Otherwise, there's no illusion. What a lot of people think is just because the audience doesn't see something means there's nothing going on. But it's just as bad if they know something's going on, even if they don't know what's going on.
Yep.
So that's deadly. So,
I've seen some magicians that produce a card, and they sit there for just maybe a good second.
It's no good.
And you know something's happening.
Yeah, so that's why, as I said, if that were a substitution load or a pickup load, they just assume that you were since the action is above board, they just assume you couldn't find it or something. It doesn't, you know. Well, with direct stealing, so it's really unless you've got a real reason, there's no way around it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bother with direct steals.
Yeah, and your routine was more streamlined toward like the streets of New York. Just
right.
You know, you've got a real audience almost 360 degrees, right?
Right.
So,
but even today, like now as time has gone on, I've become interested in more in a kind of a formal approach, where I'm actually going to be wearing a tails now.
Yeah, tuxedo and
and a tails. But even here, for the card routine, I don't make any direct steals. I just have I wear a cummerbund. Oh, by the way, if you wear a cummerbund, excuse me, in America they say cummerbund. It's actually cummerbund in German. If you wear a cummerbund, you could either have a pocket sewn and have a packet of cards there, or you could even, actually they're so tight you can stick it under.
Yeah.
Or if you wear a vest, there are pockets in the vest. You know, you could have you can just have you can even have a pocket sewn in the back. So instead of it being, you just pick it up. There are a lot of things, or just have it in your breast pocket.
Now, if someone wants to do,
you want me to? Shall I go through a sequence to show you what I mean?
Sure. Well, I was going to ask if
any other question?
Yeah. If someone wants to do this in a street setting, but their character is more of like you know, like a street guy, normal guy, or you know, like they just dress like a t-shirt and jeans. What could you suggest as far as a body load? Like would you use the belt clip? Because I use this for jumbo coins sometimes. I'll just stick the jumbo coin right under the belt. Well,
no, as I said, since I don't recommend. Since I don't recommend direct steals.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter where you have it, because it's going to appear as though that it's something that's reappearing, or something that you want anybody that you need that you're picking up. So under cover of that, so. It could be anywhere, since it's not a secret. It's not a secret steal.
Okay.
You know, but of course you don't want anything that's going to bulge anywhere. You could even have, it's a packet of cards. You could even reach into your pocket and take out a scarf.
Yeah.
You know, or you could. But I don't recommend direct steals for street work.
Yeah.
Because usually the angles are not going to be correct for it.
Yeah.
So if you is a person wearing a jacket or not wearing a jacket?
Good point. Well, yeah, if they're not, you know.
If they're not wearing a jacket, if you have a shirt that has a pocket, you can have a stack of coins. Or something that's flattish, you know, or you can stick it under your belt, you know, or even in the pants and just take something out.
That's a good point, because in the street,
your angles, you're not going to be able to make a direct steal without being seen.
So you should streamline it off that one deck.
I think for card manipulation, that's really what we're talking about. I would design it so it's either stolen off the pack, or it's a pickup or a substitution load.
Wow. Okay.
You know. For instance, when I'm wearing formal clothing, I'm wearing a cummerbund.
Okay.
And actually. Sometimes, you know, the cummerbunds are tight enough. You can just stick it; it'll hold without it going anywhere. But usually, I have a pocket. I have a packet of cards. You can put it here. Let me just put it right there. Okay.
Get a 10 on the face.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So there, I have 14 cards here, and all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. Okay. And I have these, and I have 12 cards, say, in my upper breast pocket and my tails. And here I have a pocket. But sometimes, if your pants are tight enough, you can just stick it there. It's not going to shift. So I'm here, right? Well, normally that would be open. Let me just keep it open. There's over tails.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm finishing.
Let me get on.
Okay. Hold that. Okay. let's say I'm just finishing our card production routine. Well, I finished, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now the way I get into it, and this is another nice point. If you can develop, say, what we call shtick, or develop an action. Develop certain actions you can actually lead into things. Like I do. Well, I don't give a normal bow. I give an Indian bow, a Hindu bow, an old Hindu bow, which means deep respect. I learned that from an Indian before. I do this like that. So I do this Hindu bow, and I do that, like you, that, and that. So now I've got what they call a reason why. I don't just see. That also breaks up the monotony of manipulation.
It gives you some character.
Yeah, you actually have, I've got what actors would call motivation.
Okay.
I've got a motivation. So I'm here and I just see I see this packet of cards, which you don't point it up, but it's all right. So I have this. Now I take that card, I do the tap vanish, and I do it, and I do this tap vanish, right? So now and I realize it came back, which is the duplicate set.
And now you're loaded in both hands.
And now what I use, I just transfer. I transfer to do a front production, my front production. Yeah.
You transfer.
Yeah. So I have all the time in the world. I'm here to do that, so I can just turn around now, and I'm ready to do my double card production.
That's great, and you're loaded both hands, ready to go again.
Now, before that, what I used to do, before I thought of this motivation, I would have just cards here at random, and I'd be doing my manipulation routine, right? I'm doing my production routine. Now, I'd produce one more fan, and then I would take it, and then I would vanish it, okay, and then do this. But what was nice about when I thought about using this as a motivation, it gave me the opportunity to have the same face. Because here, there's no way you're going to control.
Exactly.
You're not going to. You have no time to think about what card you're splitting on. So here, actually, I've got an advantage, and I don't really think most people would notice it. Maybe two people in the first row, maybe. But just because I'm just being a little more picky. So now I improved it two ways. I've got a motivation which actually breaks the monotony of the constant production.
Okay.
Because no matter how fascinating, after a while it gets to be monotonous.
Yeah.
So instead of that, I finish the production. I just finish it and I just pause.
And you get an applause right there.
Yeah, and I get right. That's three. That's right. That's a good point. It's an applause cue. And I'm taking this and I'm taking this. What is this? You just convey that, and it's just you can fathom it.
It's almost.
And
like
if you do, and they can see that. Yeah, they see it. So now you're there. That vanishes. If you want, you can. This is even a nice move that I came up with, which is nice to. You vanish it, so it's.
Okay.
Instead of doing this, you're here. I've got the load here, so I'm here, and I go and now I can take all the time I need in the world to change positions, and I can come.
Okay.
So, which is actually another effect. You had a vanish. You have a transposition.
Yep.
So now you're here, and I'm right into my double production, which you'll see later when I do it.
Oh, great.
So that's like a good example.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'll give you another example. Years ago, when I used to do the Cardini production, you remember the one I showed before? This thing here? Yeah. In those days, I could do it in both hands. I'd need a good month now, because it's been 20 years since I did it on a regular basis in the left hand. I think we went over the point before that it's very difficult to get into this.
Oh, yeah.
How do you get, now what I used to try doing, I had it on a card clip, just like a bulldog clip or a clip, and I would steal it. I would just steal it in that position. And you can imagine it's a bit difficult because normally you have to pull cards down that way. You got to pull down, so then you have to sort of bend them. Yeah. Okay, so then when I managed to figure out at one point in my card routine, I think I wound up with a production like that. Okay, and then instead of I would pause for an applause position. I would stand like that and take the applause, and then as I came over, I just riffled into it.
Okay.
So I eliminated another. You see?
Can we show that?
Yeah. So it's just I think we discussed this before. Instead of holding the cards like that, I just have them lying across the crease of my palm, and as I turn my hand over to hand the cards, I just would riffle right into it.
Yeah.
So you would just riffle right into it. You've got it.
That's cool.
Just saying. But so there were a lot of, with some experience, once you can do a lot of the slides with some experience, there are ways to get into it without request to the body. But I think the students should use their own imagination now, and just use those as guideposts and try to figure out motivations of their own and skills of their own. Yeah.
right, Jeff. Are there any other points or things you want to leave us with about loads and steels?
Okay, one minor one, but it's important. When I begin my card routine, I almost always begin with a full pack of cards. Now, one of the things you don't want to do, especially today with the way cards are made, because no two packs are the same. They all have different characteristics. Some are more slippery, some are less, blah, 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 blah. And what I do is, if I'm going to introduce another deck or even a packet from another deck, I usually take a magic marker and I mark the backs of those cards. So later on, when I take them out of the hat or from wherever I've thrown them, I can remove those cards from the original 52. Like for instance, hold that just for a second. Like here, when I do that reproduction of those cards, well, when I used to do it this way, I would exhaust this and then come down to the last fan, vanish that, and reproduce these. All right, so this fan would be in the hand here. Let me show you what I mean. You better hold those because I don't want to mix these. I would finish my fan productions, and I'd catch the last fan. I would supposedly tap vanish these and do this and continue with my production. Now, of course, this pack's going to get mixed up with this packet, which is separate. Yep. So if you can't differentiate that, the pack will never fan the same way anymore. So I would always make a little mark with a black magic marker, so I can differentiate it.
Because you don't want the fanning cards getting mixed up with the cards that you're going to be bending and
right, right. And even now, if I'm using the two dupes from that packet, I mark those because they still get mixed up.
Okay.
Most of the time. So anytime you have more than one pack of cards, if you're using 3 packs of cards, which I've done, mark, unless they have different back designs, mark the other 2 packs slightly because you want to differentiate even those from each other.
Yes.
So make one is like a 0, one's an X. So you never want to mix packs of cards anymore because you have no chance of the pack working the same way again.
So it's safe to say that if you want a well-rounded routine that just flows, you really need to think about everything and place everything in the right spot.
Yeah, you don't want to mix any mixing of cards anymore. in creating a routine for yourself, you're going to, of course, have to build it upon your existing knowledge. In other words, if you know 3 or 4 sleights, you're going to have to limit the routine around those 3 or 4 sleights. So if you know 6 or 7, 8, 9, 10, or 12, or 15 or more, then you have more material to draw from. Now, I don't advise that you build a routine from all 15 sleights you might know. You may need only 3 or 4 or 5. But obviously, the more things you can do, the more selections you can make. Right? It's going to be an elimination process. In fact, you're going to have to figure out what things to leave out the more you know, because too many of these things becomes a little bit repetitive and boring. So all you need is really 3 or 4 basic sleights. If you can fan a deck of cards, produce a few singles, produce a few fans, a couple of, you don't need to do much more than that, as long as they're blended together correctly. Now, to a certain extent, the routine you're going to build, the type of routine it's going to be, will be dependent upon whether the card routine is coming at the beginning of an act, or at the end of an act, or in the middle, or maybe you're just going to do cards. If you're going to open with a card act, I suggest that you do what you need to do to get people's attention immediately. For instance, I would come out and I would immediately produce a fan of cards and do some productions just to get people's attention, do a routine, and then later on you can pick up another pack and go through the flourish things, then bring them down a bit. Now, as a performer, I've had many years experience, so I can actually come out with a pack of cards, and because of my understanding of audience psychology and pacing and my charismatic ability, I'm able to get people's attention just by fitting a pack. But if somebody who's just starting, I suggest that in order to wake the people up and get their attention, I would start with a few flashy productions, because you're amazing them immediately. Then after you exhaust that stock, you can pick up another pack and go through card fanning, etc., you know, and ending with perhaps a little novel finish. Another way of doing it would be to take a pack of cards out, and everybody thinks to themselves, oh, a card trick. And I would open this and I would do that and take out, say, a piece of rope, you know, and go, you do that, and then take the cards out of your pocket. So it's a very cute way of getting their attention. You surprise them with a joke, and then you impress them with magic. That's another way. You know, you can throw them off. A nice cute way to open would be to have a duplicate ace of spades on the bottom of the deck when you start. So you start with, say, 53 cards. And what I would do is I would come out. You can have a stock preloaded here, and you walk out and you produce a fan of card. You're doing your fans. Fans. You can even that sometimes gets a little smile. It shows you're working hard. You're doing this, and now you're producing your singles, for instance, whatever you want to do. Producing here, and you produce. Now remember, you've got one left. So now you can come right here and go right into the Howard Thurston through the knees, and right. I would do that. In fact, if you're using a hat, you can get rid of that. And just, you know, and just give it the Bob Hummer, a little finish like that. That's a nice sequence, you see. Now you can take a bow, and if you want to use my gag and you happen to notice something else, and you go into another sequence right there. That's perfect. As I said just before, it's very important that you learn as many techniques, as many moves as possible, as many effects with cards as possible, because the more material you have, the more you have to draw upon when you're trying to create a routine. As I said, if you have only 2 or 3 things you can do, then your routine obviously is going to be limited. But the more you have, the more you can draw from. That doesn't mean that you have to use them all. In fact, I advise you against using them all. But let's say out of 25 moves, you're very proficient at, say, anywhere from 3 to, let's say, 6. So what you have to do now is concentrate on those 6 that you do well, that you like the best, and figure out a good sequence to put them in. It's just like, you know, creating a magic routine is just like writing a song, or you know, composing a piece of music, or writing a play. Everything has to be in the right place, because very often it's not the trick alone that impresses people, it's where it comes in the routine. Like many years ago, in my rope routine, I used to do it a certain effect in the very opening of the routine, and it got no reaction. It was a great trick, but there was no reaction. When I put it 2 beats later in the routine, it got a good reaction, because of the emotional value of the trick. It had to be put later on so that people can fully appreciate it, you see. The same thing is true with cards. There are certain things that are better to open with and better to close with. Everything has to be in its right place. The trick has to come at the right moment. A trick could be effective in the beginning, or at the end, or in the middle. But sometimes it may be more effective later on than in the beginning, you see. Because every effect in a way has a slightly different emotional value. And that's what you have to consider. So therefore, if you have 15 moves you can do, then you have 15 different emotional values that you can draw upon and put in the right place. Okay, explanation. Explanation time? Explanation, the cards from the mouth. This is somewhere between a magic effect and a gag. For this, you really, I don't know. Well, you know, I really don't do it much because I'm not homely enough. It's good for a very homely guy, but if you're too handsome, it doesn't work. But if you're not ugly, but if you're half handsome and half good looking, then you might get away with it. Yeah. Basically, you have a packet of cards, classic palmed in your hand. And what you're really doing, you're actually springing the cards into your mouth like that, from the bottom up, and then making this action like this. And it really gives the illusion that the cards are coming out of your mouth, especially if you make a grimace. And a lot of performers do it, and it works fine. Only time I did it was for an encore bow in a finale. Many shows they ask you to come out and take a bow with the rest of the performers after the entire show is over, and sometimes they'll have each person do a little piece of business, you know, a piece of shtick, as we say, and that's the one I chose. Normally I wouldn't do it in my routine because I'm just too elegant a guy.
All right, Jeff, the cards from mouth, very, very funny and cool, so let's go over it.
All right. All you need for this, normally you would do this as an encore effect. In other words, you could walk on and have 25, 30 cards, classic palmed in your right hand with the faces towards your palm. And if you want to do it after a routine, you could theoretically, after a few fans, just riffle them off and do it. But I like to do it as an encore at the end of a.
So you can have him on a body load, or just have him palmed.
Just have him palmed. Yeah. As you palm, you can come out.
Yeah.
You know.
No one's looking.
No one's looking. Especially if you do this gag, like, you know, so that brings the attention to your face and gives it a motivation. So what you're basically doing, is springing the cards. Instead of springing the cards this way, you're springing them from inside the palm, just like that.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, you kind of spring in like that, but you bring your hand up to your face, like that, and open your mouth and just shoot the cards. And then the other hand takes the bottom half and just threads them down.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, wow, they look great. They look great. They look great. But I was just kidding before. But even if you're a handsome devil and you're not an ugly guy,
yeah.
If you do it as a joke, they'll go with it. Or if you're a comedian, it's particularly good.
I can get away with it.
A magic clown, or right, exactly, right. Yeah, that's a nice little. The cards from the mouth.
I like that one.
Mm-hmm. There are some classical techniques which are very beautiful and they produce very spectacular effects. Unfortunately, because of the way cards are made, to go back to the things I've been saying all along, because of the way cards are made with this UV silicone coating, the cards don't behave in the way they used to behave. So therefore, it's very questionable as to whether or not you can actually execute them anymore. But I'll tell you what the effects were like, and it's up to you to see whether or not you can find a pack of cards in which you can perform them with. Okay, fine. One of the classic, actually flourish, more of a flourish than a trick, is what they call the arm spread and catch. You take a pack of cards, you spread it along your arm, you can turn it over or catch it with this hand. You can catch it in a hat. Now, well, that's dependent upon being able to spring the cards, in such a way that all the cards are even. They come out in a ribbon. Today, because of the silicone, they tend to come out in clumps. I'll get a table and I'll show you on the tabletop what it really should look like. All right, now, when you spring the cards, they should look something like that. All right. Now I just spread them, but you have normally for the arm spread you have to spring them. In other words, you have to take the cards, you have to do something like that. But you see, because of the silicone, the cards come out in clumps. Huh? Normally, you would be able to spring that pack and they would come out like, you would do this along the arm, they would come out looking something like that. So what I will do in order to try to show you the arm spread, I'll spread them that way. Now the other problem is, when you want to do the turnover, because you would spread it, you would spring it, do the turnover, and do the catch, because of the silicone, the cards have a tendency to fall. But let me see if I can get away with it just by spreading. No, perhaps I better take my jacket off. All right, I'm going to attempt to spread them along my arm. Okay, that's about as good as I can get them today. Let's see. Well, let's see. You want to keep your arms straight. And when you want to turn them over, all you want to do is to move your fingers up, nothing else. Right. You bring your hand here, let it flip over, and then catch them. Let's see if we can do that. We might make it.
All right, Jeff, the arm spread and catch, it looks so difficult, and I'm scared to even attempt to learn it, but...
So am I.
Yeah. How long does this thing take to learn? I mean,
well, look, as I said, I hate to keep sounding like a broken record, but I tell you, the rules of the game have changed in the last 20, 25 years because of the way they've changed the manufacture of playing cards. Now, in the days when cards had lacquer, were coated with lacquer, it was possible to ribbon spread the cards by springing them across the arm. Today, as I said, the cards come out in clumps. Yeah. And not only that, but they tend to be more slippery. So if you want to attempt an arm spread, you want to just spread the pack as though you were spreading it across the table. But keep the fingers flat out and the arm straight, and you want to just spread, Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How
and I've got a little problem here because I'm wearing a normal shirt. I don't really suggest that because it may stick to your arm.
Okay.
But if you had like a tight T-shirt or a you want to do that and make sure the cards are aligned.
Yeah, like this is not good. It might work though.
No, they may slip, but
I'm just gonna.
You want to get it now. Normally, if you're really good, you can do it up to the elbow, but not with the silicone cards.
Yeah.
When you want to keep that, and you want to keep your hand level, and then all you want to do is bring your fingers up. Don't move the hand, just bring the fingers up. Right.
Oh, Lord.
Now those cards are fairly new and they're not powdered, so they're going to fall all over the place.
Slip.
Yeah. So your first hurdle before you can achieve the final flourish would be to have cards that are not going to slip off your arm through no fault of your own.
Okay, let's see if I can at least make it a decent attempt.
And I wouldn't even, that's it. And I wouldn't go any
farther
than the crease of your elbow.
So people could have before.
Years ago, yeah, you could go all the way up. You would have your arm a little higher. Yeah. In any case, what you would do is you would do the turnover, and when the cards would turn over, when you did the catch, you would keep your arm on a slight incline, this way, so that way, when the cards drop, it would take them longer to go to the floor, so you have the time to catch them. You see.
So you're up here, and then
you can catch them here in the hat. In fact, I even saw fellows. They would spread the cards along the top of their arm, throw it, and then just go forward and catch them.
Oh wow!
A lot of things would be done.
Well, with the hat one, you're not doing the spread.
Well, you can do it either way. Okay. You can do it either way. Yeah.
So you can actually start with the hat up here and then come down if you wanted to, right?
Theoretically, yeah. But you don't have for the hat. You don't have to do the turnover. The reason why you do the turnover is because if you don't do the turnover, you're going to be possibly going through the cards.
And these cards will fall first.
Right. And you want to end up in that situation. You see, you want to end up like that, so you can scoop them.
Yeah.
If you don't do the turnover, you might be going into the cards.
So you gotta actually.
You might be chopping into the.
You have to turn them over, which I'm gonna.
Well, I don't know if you have to, but it makes it easier.
Okay, I'm not even going far, but.
You can go into the thumb, yeah.
Here and then
Yeah, right.
It's gonna happen to you.
Yeah. With silicone, there's a lot of 52 pickup.
Yeah.
There are many good color changing card effects. However, the one I'm about to demonstrate, I think, is the one that's best suited for stand-up card manipulation. make sure you have a red and a black card on top, because you get a much better contrast when the card changes. You can change it to any card you want, but if you have a red changing to a black, for instance, you've got a really good contrast. Right. So just turn that card over on the top. You just double lift under the card under it, and you perform this action. Look, I'll show it from the side. The audience thinks that you're buckling the card out, but what you're really doing when you're waving is to bend the card over. The middle finger goes down into the card. The first and third fingers grab the card from the top. The middle finger pushes, and it appears to buckle out. See that? Like that. And you do it with a wave. All right, and then you flip the card out like that. Place it on the pack. Leave the bottom card on the face of the pack and look, and then you can turn the card over.
Jeff, I've got this thing for color changes. I love them, and this is a really cool one. What is this called?
I believe this is Dave Vernon's color changing card.
Dave Vernon's, okay.
I would have two cards on top of different colors. Say, well, obviously a red and a black.
Okay. Here you go.
And just sandwich them back to back. Okay. All right. I'm going to put a red. Fine. Okay. So you can start. Actually, you can start with the card that way, the top card down.
Okay.
And just turn it over. Just push it over. Turn it over. Show the card. Now double lift the face down card below it, which is the black card. Double lift that, and just lift it up. Lift it up as one card.
So you're lifting those two up. You lift it up that way.
You want
right?
to get in this position, yeah.
Okay.
That's all. And then, under cover of a wave, you bend the card, get the middle finger right in the center.
Just down here like that.
Yeah, and put the forefinger and the third finger over, and then push it out.
Oh, and then you just
let the middle finger curl it out. Curl it out, right?
Cool.
That's it. And then let go of the thumb. Snap it down. Of course, you don't want those to separate.
Yeah.
And then
easy because they're bent together.
Yeah, and then just turn it over.
That's great.
Yeah. Simple.
That's a cool color change.
Yeah. This is probably the simplest of all one-hand cuts. Hold the pack thusly. Drop the bottom half of the pack into your palm, and the first finger pushes that up and over. Paul Draylen, my old teacher. Paul Draylen's lovely triple cut. It'll take a bit more practice, and I suggest that you paddle the cards heavily. And it's also helpful if you bend the whole pack upward, curve them upward like that. Now look how I'm holding the pack. Now you want to cut the bottom third of the pack with your pinky. Cut it away, but you don't let go of the rest of the cards. You cut that away. You turn the cards over. The first finger splits the top half in half now. You get a good grip inside. Now this finger here and the second finger move that there. And that finger moves that there. You let that drop and you get that over. And try doing it smoother. Jay, I think you know the basic one-hand cut, don't you?
Yeah. Is it they call it Charlier or?
I'm not sure.
I learned it as Charlier, but.
No, you do it very well.
I think one thing, I don't know if you do this, but my pinky comes on this side because it kind of acts as a kind of like a holder. So during the cut, everything can rest on that pinky. Yeah.
You mean, yeah. Well, you know, we all have our own idiosyncrasies, and whatever works for you works. Yeah. It's fine.
And you hold it here first, and you let the bottom drop.
You do it differently.
I think when I kind of grip here and I let the thumb push up.
Push up. Mm-hmm.
And then I let it fall. But I think it's
Yeah,
essentially the same.
we have our, yeah, it's essentially the same. We all have our idiosyncrasies. I just like let that,
Yeah.
and then just do that. As long as you get to the same place, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
most of the time. Sometimes
really
it matters.
And what about that triple cut?
The triple
Paul
cut.
Draylen, was
yeah.
he a friend of
Paul
yours?
Draylen was a professional magician in the style of Cardini. He worked in the 30s and 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
In the eastern seaboard area of the United States, and this was something of his, and he could do this equally well with both hands. With me, I just managed to combine with one hand.
So even in the 30s, people were doing crazy.
Well, yes, right. They were doing right. It wasn't. The card manipulation wasn't born yesterday.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is hold the pack similar to what you're holding it, so you already got the basis of it.
So
all right. Once you've got it, now what you want to do? All right. Now what you want to do? You want to get that pinky to break away about 3/4 of the pack on the bottom.
Okay.
Like that.
And then you get it in there and grip.
Right. You can take a little more, but that's good enough.
Okay.
Now you turn over and have the first finger split the top half of the cards and get deeply inside. Right.
I'm gonna cheat a little.
That's okay.
All right.
Now go back up.
All
Now
right.
what you want to do with the cards locked between the first two fingers, you want to lever that up. You just want to twist your finger to the right.
Oh, okay. It kind of spins automatically.
Yeah, it spins automatically, right. Now, as I said, because of the silicone, it's good to powder the cards thoroughly. Right, now that's where you should be.
Yeah.
Now you want to do the same thing with the lower half, between the pinky and the third finger, but swing it in the opposite direction, so you have like two halves.
Okay.
You want to you can use your other hand.
Okay, there we go.
You want to make sure you keep those cards aligned.
Okay, and I can already feel that first packet wanting to go under, right?
Right.
So that gets dropped down.
Right, let's see what you're doing.
I'm getting it dropped down there.
I think you got the idea.
And then this, just spins back around that way?
Yeah, watch. Let me do it. I'll do it slow. No, it's actually not that easy to do it that slow, but let's try. You split that. You split that. You swivel that there. You swivel that there. Swivel, let that drop. Yeah, let's get it again.
It's hard to do it slow, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing it while you explain it, so.
That's all right. It's here. You want to get that here. Here. Swivel. Swivel. Jesus, now I'm losing it.
Let's see if I can get it.
These cards are unpowdered, right? Your cards are unpowdered.
Yeah, they are.
So you see, look, you swivel that. You swivel that, let that drop, and let that come.
Man,
you get some more powder.
really
Let me get some more powder.
You can't make it look like you can't do it.
No, you can do it. Let me try again. All right, here. Well, watch the action here. And here. All right, so that finger goes there. Split about 1/3 of the pack. Split this in half. Now watch. I swivel that there. I swivel that there. Drop those and drop. There it is.
Oh, okay.
See it?
So once I'm in this kind of grip here, okay, my first finger's gonna push up and over.
Right. You want to keep that there, and now the other one. Swivel
Pinky
that.
finger.
Right. Now you want to turn
This
first down, and then come back with that. Ah!
So close.
You got it.
I'm gonna
You
get
got
I'm
it.
gonna
It's okay, cheat.
help it.
Congratulations. Okay, great. You got
But
it.
I got it. I'm gonna keep doing that over and over and over for the next 2 months.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I would explore. Yeah. With this, I would try to. Because I mean, these I got for card manipulation. I would get cards which have. Try to get cards which have almost no coating, or like maybe the last ones that went through the machine, and then powder those heavily and try it.
So okay, cool. What if you took like like business cards, not like a gloss stock, but if you took like a paper stock business cards?
It should work with any
And
cards.
can you powder those? Can you powder business cards?
Some things you can powder. I know you can powder dollar bills. That's you can produce dollar bills. I know.
'Cause I'm wondering if you had a stack of your business cards and you were
It would work.
manipulating them. if you could
Why? Yeah. You know what? Also, it might be easier with a bridge deck because you don't have that far to travel. See, you have a much more narrow width.
Yeah.
You know, a bridge deck might be even easier.
Yeah.
You know, so. Before I forget, there's something I wanted to bring to your attention. It's an idea that I came up with about 5 years ago. It's manipulation technique using a double-face pack. And now I know that some of you may be familiar with double-face packs for close-up purposes, but this is the first time anybody has ever used it for manipulation purposes. And it's particularly effective if you wear white gloves. Let me show you what I mean. Now, normally you're familiar with the split fanning technique, okay, by now. And of course, if you have the cards back palm, you can go back and front and produce the cards. But with double face cards, you're permitted a production which is quite novel. Because look, since the cards are double faced, you can produce a fan of cards once or twice. You can turn the hand and then immediately produce another fan. It's really quite interesting. You see, you can produce your cards and then go around and immediately produce another fan. You can do this. Produce, and come that way. You can do that. In fact, you can do it continuously. It's quite interesting. The reason why you're wearing white gloves in this case is obviously because you've got white on both sides. In which case, what you'd want to do is use, say, a card on the bottom like an ace, particularly say an ace of hearts or an ace of diamonds. Ace of clubs, one that doesn't have too much printing, one that has a lot of open space on it. So you only have to worry about that. In fact, you can use a little white out, for getting rid of mistakes on paper. White that out if you want. If you're a lefty, then you've got no problem at all because basically, as you can imagine, your thumb's going to be covering that if you're wearing a glove. But anyway, so you're here. Look, you can do all kinds of. Right. Now, it also makes for an interesting production from the front split. Let me show you without the glove. Now, normally, remember, if you're front splitting cards, since you've got a back on, you can either go that way or you can go that way. Then you have to split them. But here, you can actually go, because of the nature of the cards, you can split and keep going the same direction if you wish. You see, let's say that's the audience here. Instead of having to do this business, since they're facing on both sides, you can continue with the same technique. Look, I can go, look. Just the faces for the audience, split it, and still continue with the same production because they're not going to get backsnared, they're going to get faces. See this, and if you're wearing gloves, it even enhances it further.
All right, a lot of people are gonna that just watch this. They're probably gonna start working on something right away, but there are probably statistically going to be about 80% that say this is just way too hard for me. This is just, they're going to try to take the easy road out.
Well, what they've got to remember is that if they truly love the subject, if they truly love what they've just seen, then they should be able to approach it not as a chore but as a pleasure. Anything you love, no matter how difficult it may be, is really not a chore. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So if they feel like,
and it's not. And for the newcomers to the field of card manipulation, it's not something that we've come to the end to on this DVD, but it's a beginning for them, a new beginning. It's one of many ways in which they can challenge themselves.
You remember when you first got that book and you saw the picture and you knew that you wanted to do card manipulation?
Right.
And there's going to be a bunch of people watching this like, oh wow, they're going to probably get that same feeling when they see you.
Yeah, for those people who are being introduced to the back palm, for instance, for the first time, I'm sure it's going to be quite an inspirational revelation. That's it should be the beginning of a new phase in their magical life.
What does it take to be? There's a lot of people that might be able to learn this and do the work and learn the mechanics of it, but to be a true artist, what more do you think it takes?
Well, first and foremost, it's not so much the adulation it might get you, not so much the money or anything, but it's the love of the doing. I think all mastery, no matter what the topic, begins with the love of the doing. Whether you're doing magic or you're a painter or a musician, it's the love of the doing. Then after one has acquired a certain expertise, then you're at a point where you can share it with others. And yes, you'll take a new type of pleasure from that. But the bottom line pleasure is the pleasure you derive from the practice of it, just for the love. Remember, the artist is the first spectator. The difference, actually, one definition of an artist is the artist is the first spectator of a work of art.
Yeah.
Whether it's a painting or a trick or anything, you're the first spectator. So you have to please the first spectator first, which is yourself. You please yourself. If you please yourself enough and enjoy it enough, you're probably going to master it enough to show others. So basically, all you're doing then is joining the other spectators. You see? You're the first spectator. They become the second, third, and the umpteenth spectator. That's the main thing. You see, it's human nature to want to communicate.
Okay.
All right, and different people communicate different ways. The artist just has a specific way of communicating, which is a little bit different than the rest of society. You just picked this as a form of communication. In this case, you're doing it through the art of illusion.
Yep.
But as I said before, your primary objective is to amaze yourself, and then you can share this amazement with others. That's
If let's just say somewhere along the way, people lose their DVD and they never get to watch you or hear you say anything to them. What's the one?
I would be happy if they never heard me say anything to them, because I'm a much better manipulator than I am a speaker.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've had to compromise to make this to make this instructional DVD.
Yeah. That's awesome that you're doing this for them, and
I try to speak through my hands whenever I can.
It's awesome though. You're a great communicator, I think, with that. And would you recommend the pantomime, pantomime to people?
I recommend that students do whatever comes natural to them. I'm not a believer. I don't really believe that one medium is superior over another. One form of communication is superior. I think the only thing that's superior is the thing that fits you best. If you're gifted, if you're gifted with gestures or pantomime, use that. If you're gifted as a comedian, use that. I don't think there's a hierarchy. I have my taste. We all have our tastes, our personal tastes, but I don't really think there's a hierarchy regarding forms of communication. I don't really think that, for the most part, as I said, I have my tastes, my likes and my dislikes, but these are all subjective. But objectively speaking, it's all good. It's whatever works for you, whatever fits. If you love painting, do that. If you love to sing, do that. If you love to do card manipulation, do that. Bearing in mind that you're probably not going to get there tomorrow. There'll be a resistance. There'll be obstacles to be overcome. But that's what magic's really all about. It's about, people say it's about the performing of the impossible. It's what it really is. If you want to dig down to the heart of it, it's about the overcoming of obstacles. So therefore, the practice of magic has its own obstacles. The techniques you have to overcome. Some are difficult, some are not so difficult, and some are incredibly difficult. But I think if you have even the mildest obsession, eventually you're going to master it. You go as far as you personally need to go, and that's really all you can ask from yourself. And then once you have enough to amaze yourself, that's probably going to be enough to amaze others.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's kind of like spreading the word. But what I'm going to say is, on a final note, just to leave them with this: the people watching this DVD, they're going to learn magic from it, and then go share magic with the world. And a lot of that world never saw magic before. So this is the first time people are going to see magic when this student or this magician goes out and performs, and it's the first time that this person sees the magic. And what would you like to say to that magician sharing that art with people?
Well, I would say that you've got to remember that you've got to remember one thing. The primary characteristic of any miracle is not, as most people think, it's impossibility, it's its rarity. Because it's by its very rarity, it's what makes it impossible. It doesn't occur every day. if a miracle happened every day, it ceases to be a miracle. An airplane is a miracle, but we don't recognize it as such because we're accustomed to it. So you've got to remember that the art of magic is in the miracle class. It's predicated on rarity. And, however, when somebody sees something that's obviously difficult sleight of hand, they may not know the details, but they know it's difficult, so therefore they experience that rarity in a very novel way within the context of the conjurer, because they know how many years it must have taken the person, and they know that they're not going to walk into a magic shop and go buy it and have someone do it, have a child do it. So in a certain sense, remember that in general, the magician's art is connected to the rarity of miracles. So, but somebody who can do very, very high level sleight of hand or manipulation is really going to be a proponent of that rarity. Remember, Santa Claus doesn't show up every day. He comes once a year, and you want to emulate Santa Claus to some extent. So the rarer your magic, the more amazing it's going to be to people. And so that's something really worth striving for.
How do you define magic?
Well, Jay, you know, the common definition of magic, well, you know, if you look in the dictionary, it defines magic, I mean, in the sense of the art of the magician. It defines magic as the apparent disobedience of natural law, meaning somebody who does the impossible. But, you know, it is really not the impossibility. It's what underlying that impossibility that enchants everybody. It's basically what the magician is trying to do is to overcome obstacles, because essentially the human being, the human species, are consumers. We're all, essentially all of us are basically consumers, and what we'd all like to do is to go from desire to possession at a moment's notice. That is to say, by being able to eliminate the intermediary step of effort. Everything in life requires effort. Even if I want to go and pick up something, I have to go over there and physically get it. If I want to get something, you know, like a house or a car, I've got to earn it. I've got to work for it. Everything requires effort. The magician is showing a possibility of going from desire to reality by the elimination of effort. In other words, we're overcoming obstacles. The whole purpose of the magician is apparently to overcome the obstacles to one's desire with as little effort as possible. And that is what the magician is doing. And if you're practicing difficult sleight of hand, you're kind of showing the people in a very symbolic way, in a metaphorical way, the lengths that you were willing to go to in order to apparently do that.
So in a sense, you're kind of demonstrating the fact that you can do anything you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the magician is a person. The magician is a being apart. The magician is a person who can overcome the all too common obstacles of life. The magician is a metaphorical figure. As I said, he can go from desire to reality at a moment's notice. That is to say, to go from desire to possession by eliminating the usual need for effort, which most of us are usually subjected to. Now, that's really what it's all about. And that's what about. And if you're a manipulator, you're metaphorically saying that you have this ability at your very fingertips. Mm-hmm. Now, the audience on some level, they know that it isn't quote unquote real magic, that it's skill, but when they see the level of work that went into it, they do kind of ascribe certain powers to you. Like in the 19th century, there was a great violinist named Paganini. Now, people obviously they could see his fingers moving, and they can see that this was a skilled human being. But he did it so extremely well that people felt as though in order to achieve such skill, you had to have made a pact with the devil. They really thought that he was in league with the devil. Right? Now, the skill was apparent, but it was so inspired and was so skillful that it seemed to be a kind of supernatural type of skill. It was a skill that was aided by a supernatural agency. So in a certain sense, even though it's skill that he possessed because he had made a supernatural pact. So that's why if people should see a little flash of the cards behind your hand or something, this is one of the few areas in which they forgive you as long as you do it extremely well, because they feel as though, yes, it's a trick, but at the same time, to be able to get to this level of the art, that one must be in league with something higher. One must be truly touched by God, even to get to that point. So in a certain sense, it is real magic.